Hey guys, so my name is Sarah, and if you guys are on our Instagram, especially, you'll recognize me because I tend to do a lot of book reviews on Fridays. So I am the head of reader services, so in my opinion, I probably have the best job in the library because I get to buy a lot of fiction, I get to create book lists, and I get to review books and do fun things like what I'm about to introduce. So this December, we thought we would do something a little bit different with book recommendations, and that we would do pairings. And essentially with book pairings, I am taking different drinks that are common around this time of year, and I am pairing them with a specific book based off of kind of the flavor profile of the drink, the experience of the drink, and how all of that is kind of mimicked in the book selection that I've picked. So to start with today, I am going to be talking about Irish coffee and Dervla McTiernan. She writes the Cormac Riley series, first book in which is The Ruin. But to do a little bit of a twist on the Irish coffee, I'm actually going to show you guys how to make an Irish coffee that is non-alcoholic, which I know sounds kind of weird, but it's actually really good. And in some cases, I might even prefer the non-alcoholic. But as good as it tastes, this is something where you guys can obviously take it on the road and you don't have to, just be at home and safe drinking times. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started a little bit on the drink, and then I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about the book. All right, so I'm gonna make sure that my water is boiling. It was boiling right before I started. And we're gonna start out with doing our coffee. So with Irish coffee, one of the key things with it is to have a robust coffee. So when it comes to robust coffee, I think of dark roast because it's just going to have the stronger flavor. Medium roast is going to have more caffeine, but I like that kick in the face coffee flavor of dark roast. So the water is boiling. When you're making Irish coffee, they do say that it's best to have fresh brewed coffee. And my preference for fresh brewed coffee is French press, which is what I am doing. You can do other things, and obviously if you only have a Keurig, why not use the Keurig? Do you? So while this is sitting, I've got my other ingredients. So the key thing with Irish coffee is you're gonna have the coffee, and then traditionally you have the whiskey, a little bit of brown sugar, and then the whipping cream. So I did some research, like I said, and this is a non-alcoholic version. So you're gonna need orange juice, which I recommend getting something that's no pulp because no one wants pulp in their coffee. Lemon juice, you're gonna need the brown sugar, and then you're gonna need vanilla extract. I have a preference for pure vanilla. If you wanna know why I prefer pure vanilla, you can ruin your own life by Googling vanilla extract and imitation. So those are gonna be our ingredients. So with that, we've kind of got the flavor profile of the robust coffee. We've got a little bit of sweetness, but there's also a little bit of tart. And then we've got that kind of smooth finish with the cream. So with that, I was trying to think of different books that would fit within that flavor profile. And obviously I wanted to do something that was Irish. And with that, I was kind of thinking of something like, this makes me think of something you drink maybe it's storming outside, or it's, in the late evening, and there's just kind of an atmosphere to it. And so I wanted to do something a little bit different. Usually when people think of mysteries, and that's kind of what I think of with atmosphere, they're gonna lean toward Tana French when it comes to Irish literature. I'm gonna do something a little bit different, especially since Tana French can get a little bit darker and a little more gritty, which fits perfectly if you're doing this with whiskey, but we are not. So I'm doing kind of like, I don't want to call it Tana French Light because I might actually prefer Dervla McTiernan, but it's got that same kind of procedural component that you get from the Dublin Squad with Cormac Riley, but it's also taking place in Galway, which is going to be on the other side of the country from Dublin. And in Galway, which is a wonderful place, this sweater is from the Aran Islands, which is right off the coast of Galway. If you're ever gonna go to Ireland, I highly recommend Galway. It is stunning. One of the really cool things about Galway is it's also one of the locations in Ireland, especially with Aran Islands right off the coast, where they still actually have a lot of presence of the original Irish Gaelic language. And it's just kind of a different Irish atmosphere than what you normally get when you think of Dublin. So thinking with all of those things, I decided to pair The Ruin, which is the first book in the Cormac Riley series. Currently there are 3 books in the series, and I am hoping for a 4th. I just finished The Good Turn, which is book 3, and it's really good. Dervla just does this wonderful job of capturing Ireland, and she's got the police procedural, but within the police procedural, she's got these really great characters, and there's a pretty, I don't want to say broad cast of characters, but some very different characters that play different roles within a police procedural, and there's usually 1 or 2 mysteries that are kind of going either parallel, sometimes they cross, and she just does a really wonderful job of just building this kind of atmosphere, but you're so just bought into what is going on. But then it's so Ireland. And if you wanted to listen to the audiobook, Aoife, I can't remember her last name, but she does such a wonderful job. And there's all of these great Gaelic names, and it's just, it really, for me, because I spent some time in Ireland studying abroad, like, it really just captured kind of the essence of Ireland to me. And I think our coffee is maybe done brewing. So we're gonna go ahead and skip to making the drink. So kind of a fun fact about Irish coffee, it wasn't actually a thing until 1942, when a plane got grounded in what is now the Dublin airport, the Shannon airport, because of a snowstorm, and so they couldn't get to New York. And so Joe Sheridan happened to be a bartender there, and all of these American passengers are stranded in the airport, and he just kind of like threw this drink together. And it's just kind of funny. So it was in 1942, and in I think it was 54, I think, it had made its way to the United States and had kind of picked up and was popular. But let's see, Jack Kepler, who's apparently a big restaurateur, he kept having problems with how he was making it because the cream would fall through. And so he actually flew to Dublin to meet with Joe Sheridan and ended up giving Joe Sheridan a job. So I'm going to start with putting in the brown sugar, which for the brown sugar, we're going to be doing 1 tablespoon. I've already measured it out. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that into my cup. I'm using this mason jar mostly just so you guys can kind of get an idea of how it layers, because you are supposed to drink the cream, it's supposed to rest on top and you drink the flavor through. All right. So next up, I'm going to be adding the teaspoon of orange juice and teaspoon of lemon juice. And then we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of, again, pure vanilla. Don't ruin your life. Don't Google it. Just trust me and use pure vanilla. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mix that up just a little bit. It's probably unnecessary, but I feel like doing it. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the coffee. And then the recipe I found says to do a cup of coffee, like an actual cup, not just like a physical cup. I'm doing the physical cup because I like coffee. So traditionally, actually, the Irish coffees are in Ireland. They tend to drink them actually in the evening, which I thought was really interesting. So they tend to use decaf coffee, which again, I thought was really interesting. All right, so this is the reason why Jack Kepler went to Dublin to meet with Joe Sheridan. So we're supposed to take the lightly whipped heavy whipping cream, and we're going to use a spoon to kind of let it rest on top. And again, the idea is you don't want it to be full whipping cream, although I would err on the side of full whipping cream because I have found that's a little easier. And it's supposed to rest on top so that you're pulling the flavor through. So I'm going to make my attempt. But again, this is why, Jack Kepler went to Ireland, because he also couldn't get this right. So mine is obviously a little bit more than slightly whipped. I thought I did a better job with the slightly whipped. All right, but you can see there how it's just kind of resting on top. And that is what we want it to do, because again, the idea is to kind of pull the flavor of the coffee through. Now, if you are looking to make this the more traditional way, Joe Sheridan, again, the guy who created it, has kind of a fun little witty thing that he created so that people can remember how to make a true Irish coffee. So it is cream, rich as an Irish brogue, coffee, strong as a friendly hand, sugar, sweet as the tongue of a rogue, and whiskey, smooth as the wit of the land. So again, obviously we don't have the whiskey in this one, but that's great because that means I get to take this with me wherever I want to go. So that is, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my thing because I like to do mason jars, but they're hot too. How to make a non-alcoholic Irish coffee. And we are pairing that again with Dervla McTiernan's The Ruin.